I've been in dogs since 1991. We breed dogs that we want to train. I was out here in western Nebraska riding Harleys and training dogs. I don't sugarcoat anything, and if you don't like it, tough.
Hello, everyone, and thank you again for tuning in to the Flatlander podcast with Chris Jobman. Today, we're going back to the Flowchart. So, tell me, review. What are we talking about today, Chris?
Well, I think it's been a while since we've done it. I think our last one we ended on water force.
Right.
So now we need to talk about how to stop a dog in the water with a whistle. You teach them to tread water, sit in the water, whatever you want to call it, and then which goes right into the water T, which are the two things that happen before actual swim by. So your dog's going through the basics. It's going through the basics, right? So it's been water forced. Everything's going well. And you ran the T with it. It sits the whistle really nice on land. It runs a T really good. Now you water forced it. It's swimming across the little swim by pond, pick up the bumpers, come back. Now you're going to blow the whistle. So you're going to water force. You're just going to go in the water back, jumps in the swim by pond, and starts swimming. You're going to blow the sit whistle. And the dog is going to do one of two things. It's going to either turn around really nice and look at you and go, wow, there's a sit whistle, or it's just going to keep going. If the dog sits really well on land and you've got a good, crisp, clean sit, this takes no time at all. You blow the whistle, it'll sit, turn around, and maybe try to start treading water. And if the dog turns around, starts coming back at you, you give it a back command with the verbal back. It spins around, goes back. You blow the whistle again. It swims at you. You give a verbal back. You keep doing all these things, and eventually the dog will stop and start treading water. If the dog, you blow a sit whistle, if the dog wants to turn, let's say, to your left, so the dog's turning like this, and you blow the sit whistle, the dog turns like this, and the dog wants to keep turning and go, right, instead of actually stopping, then what you do is the dog turns like this, and it's coming, and it wants to turn this way, you blow the sit whistle again, it looks at you again, and you give it the cast the opposite way of the turn. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it's turning counterclockwise, and it wants to, you go tweet, it turns counterclockwise, and it just wants to keep turning and go. So if it turns counterclockwise, and you go tweet again, and you give it the cast, where it makes it turn clockwise against itself. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So when you do that, the dog eventually starts doing this, and eventually starts treading water. So whatever you do, don't let the dog turn and just blow the whistle. So don't let the dog just tweet, turn, and as it's turning counterclockwise, you give a right back. So it keeps turning counterclockwise. Don't let that happen. Don't do that because the dog's never going to learn how to tread water. The dog turns counterclockwise, you stop him, you give him the cast that's against the turn, and the dog learns to start treading water that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you break that momentum. You break that, and then eventually you just start. That's why you start teaching a dog to tread water really well. Is you start giving the opposite cast of their turn, and eventually they start learning how to tread water because they don't know which way you're going to turn. They're going to turn. They have no idea what cast you're going to give, so they just start treading water. And some dogs are really, really good at it. Where you see their butt come up, they turn sideways, and they almost sink. And there's other dogs that aren't great at it, but with some patience, they can get good at it. You just have to counteract their turn.
Right.
If that makes sense. So
yeah,
it's not a hard thing to do. Usually these dogs catch on the sit whistle in the water really fast. They don't. If you've done all your basics correctly and you've done all that stuff, they'll be fine. It doesn't take much at all. Now I have seen some people go to the extremes of getting a long rope or a tagline or whatever you want to call it, and a floatable one. If you're going to do this, buy one that floats, not one that sinks, because it'll wrap around the dog's feet. It's a nightmare. So, but they'll put the long, rope on the dog like they do in the, sit to pile, and they'll tweet, and then they'll stop the dog in the water with a rope. Honestly, if you've done your sit to pile and everything well enough, you're not going to need a rope. You're really not. And if in the pond that you're using, if it's a swim by pond, make that pond a little bit wider than you think. That gives the time the dog to stop, turn around, and start trading water. If you're using a tiny little pond that's 30 feet across, that's not enough room. They don't have enough room to turn and do what you want them to do. You got to give them enough room in there to, back, recall, back, and then do all those things to get them to tread water. It has to be wide enough. It can't be really little. Okay. Piece of cake. So when you're water forcing and you're going to start teaching the sit whistle in the water, you'll just back and then blow a sit whistle and back, and then you do all. It's a piece of cake. It really is really little. It's a little easy. So just like land tee, like the mini tee, we talked about the mini tee, right? Exact same thing on water. Exactly the same thing. Blow a sit whistle. The dog turns, treading water really nice. Throw a bumper over their head. On the other side, back. They turn this way. Free run. Kick them off. Blow a sit whistle. Throw one to the left. Over. Like, see what I'm saying? Do this. Mm-hmm. Now this is where you're going to start doing some things. So you're doing the water tee. You're going to cast them out that way. They're going to swim all the way down. They're going to get out of the water in the swim by pond and pick up a bumper, right? You're going to blow a sit whistle. Make them sit there. And you're going to walk around the other end of the pond, and you're going to call them to you. There's only 4 exits to a swim by pond. In front of you, on the sides, and where you're at. So you're going to stop them there. You're going to walk around to the pond. You're going to call them to you, right? Excuse me. You're teaching them the exit on the left. You're teaching them the exit on the right. And when they swim all the way across the pond to you, you're going to get the bumper out of their mouth. You're going to go, hey, and you're going to throw a fun bumper. That way, away from the water. That's a fun place to get out. Free run across it in. Kick them off. Blow the sit whistle. Cast them right. They swim across. You throw a bumper over there. You throw it. I mean, you physically throw one over there. They swim across there. They go pick it up. You blow a sit whistle. You walk around to the other end of the pond, and you call them to you. So now you're trying to teach the dog to swim back and forth across this pond. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And eventually you're going to get to the point where you're going to be able to put your back pile out, your over pile, one bumper at your over, and you're going to send them here, and you're going to run the tee. Kick them off, blow a sit whistle. Depending on which way they want to turn, if they want to just keep going counterclockwise, you give them a left back. So they turn this way, they go back. Free run, stop them in the middle. You give a left back, now you give a right over. You walk around, you call them to you, right? Come back around, you kick them off again. Stop them. Now you're going to give a left over. Swim across the deal, stop them. You walk to the end, you call them to you. Okay?
And that's just so that they're learning from when they pick it up to come directly back to you where it would be totally
they're
awkward.
learning to cross the pond in front of you.
Okay.
You see what I'm trying to say? So you got your swim by pond. They're learning to swim across the pond, and you're here, end pile. You're here. They're learning to swim across the pond.
Right.
Across it. They're learning the exit. There's an exit over here. There's an exit over there. There's an exit behind you. There's an exit right here.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then now, so you give a left back. So you give a right over. Then you stop them. You're going to give a right straight back. Turn right. Go get it. Just like the tee. Just like the tee on land. The exact same. My program it's the exact same steps. Exact same sequence. The biggest thing you want to do is when they swim on the overs, you want to walk around, call them to you. When they get to you, you throw a fun bumper away from the water. That's a fun place to get out. Mm-hmm. You're basically teaching them the exits and swim by. They don't even know it. They're just swimming back and forth, and they don't even know it. So now you're ready for, once you've done that, and you can do the exact tee. Like I said, put them all out, kick them off, send them over. Once they're good at the water tee, and like I said, the water tee is the exact same sequence as the land tee. Once they're good at the water tee, then you'll start introducing swim by. So we've talked about sitting in the water, blowing a whistle, making the dog stop in the water, how to make the dog tread. Turn them, you spin them around, all those things. Then we do the mini T in the water. Then we do the T in the water. Now we're going to do swim by. So when you kick the dog off, you're going to kick them off. They're going to go and get a bumper. On their way back from the bumper, they're going to stop. You're going to stop them in the water on the return. They should stop on the return in the water because if you did run by after the T, they should know how to stop. That's why we do run by. Teach them to go across the front. We're doing run by to help set up swim by. Mm-hmm. Okay. Once they get the bumper and they start returning, you're going to blow the sit whistle in the middle. They may make, whoa, what's going on? Just get them to stop. Now you want to cast them, whichever way you want to do it, left or right. Just give them a cast left. Hopefully, right, they will swim out that end that they've been out and done it 100 times. If they don't, take a bumper, throw it to the end of that thing, and the end of the pond, it'll hit. Now stop them. So they look at you, cast them. Now they'll cast to that bumper you just threw, right? You kind of walk down the end of the pond. You stop them when they get out of the water. You stop them. You give them a ride over to get back in the water and swim across the pond again, just like they did when they were swimming to you. But now you're not at the end of the pond. You're in front, like where you send them on the across. So they're going to go all the way across. Hopefully they get in the water, and they're not going to go all the way across the first time. There's no way. They're going to try to come to you, stop, back. Get them in the middle of the pond. Try to come to you, no, back. Keep them in. Whatever you do, keep them in the water. If you have to, throw another bumper to the end and cast them all the way across to that.
And what if the dog, when you throw the bumper, drops the other one? Is that something that I would think that would be something?
No, fetch, pick it up, blah, blah, blah.
Uh-huh.
Make him pick it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should know. I mean, it shouldn't be an issue. Now, if the dog is really struggling by getting back in the water and swimming across, what I like to do is let the dog, you stopped them, you gave them an over with the bumper in their mouth. They've swam out, they've got out. You want them to get out on land. You don't want them to come up to the edge of the water and just turn around and go right back. You want them to physically get out of the water, all 4 feet dry, and get out of like 10 or 15 feet out of the water if you can. Because it's a lot harder for the dog to take 10 or 15 feet and get back in the water, right? You have to let them get out. If you don't let them get out of the water, they never get out of the water. So on the people that run blind retrieves, my dog won't get out of the water because you never let them get out of the water. So let them get out of the water. And if this is a dog that struggles with getting back in the water and swimming all the way back across, just stop them on land when they get out, take a bumper, and just throw it to the end, on the other end. And so they see it. Now cast them back in the water and give them like a target, right? You're just helping them do that. And once you've done that enough times, I tell you, it takes, if you've done all your basics, you've done everything right, and you've taken your time, this is not a hard process. This really is not a hard process. Eventually, it's like a game to them. You stop, you cast, they get out, you cast, they get back in, they swim. Now, what you want them to do is you want to stay where you sent them on back. You want to be able to stand right there and do all your casting. You'll cast to the left, dog will swim across, get out. You'll stay right there. You'll cast them back in the water. They'll get back in the water. Now, this is where you get swim by. They swim right by you to the other end. Let them get out over there again, right? Over. They get back in the water. They swim across you again, right? You just keep doing that until they understand to swim by you. Mm-hmm. And when I was doing swim by, Andrew and those guys don't do this like I did it back in the day. Back in the day, my swim by, it was actually kind of fun. So my swim by pattern was once they were going to swim by, they would go across, get the bumper. On the way back, they would come to me. I would stop them. I'd give them a right, straight back, verbal back. They would turn around with the bumper in their mouth. They would swim straight back to the pile again, get out. I would stop them there. I'd call them to me. They got halfway across the pond. I'd stop them there. So I gave it right back. I would give a left over. They would swim all the way across right there, and they would stop out on land, right? I'd give them a right over. They would swim all the way across to there, get out on land. So I'd stop them there. I'd give them a left over. They'd swim all the way across like that, and I would stop them in the middle. I gave a right back earlier. I gave a left back there. They would turn and go all the way out, and they would get out where the bumper pile was at, stop them there, and I'd call them to me. That was my swim by. Mm-hmm. And we're lucky and fortunate enough here that we have our swim by pond, And right next to our swim by pond, we have a pond we call Bean Pond. Now, when that dog swims left to right in front of me, I'm making that dog swim, get out, keep going, and re-enter in that other pond and keep swimming with a bumper in their mouth. I make them do all of that too. And that is amazing what that does. And then you can stop them in Bean Pond, give them a leftover, and they'll swim, get out of Bean Pond, run across, get back to the swim by pond, and swim across. We make them do all of those things because they're all connected. So that's a kind of a fast version of swim by, but it's really, if you've done all your steps and you've put it all together, it's not that big of a deal. The hardest thing that people have to do swim by is finding the pond.
Right.
That's the hardest thing to do because people just don't have them. I mean, I have 2 of them here, but the only way, you can find something like a small end of a pond, something little, and it might be open water on your left and like a shore on your right. Then you can do the same thing. You work on, kick them across, call them to you, give them over. They swim this way, and they swim this way, to the right. And then you have to flip-flop. You have to go on the other side to do your other arms, right, your other directions. That's how you have to do it. Most people, there's a lot of people that I know that have not done swim by because they have no place to do it.
Right.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
And I know some trainers
to find a place
that don't even do swim by that are very, very successful. Very successful. They do water force, they do water tee, they do D-cheat, and that's it. They don't even do a swim by. And they're very, very successful. We do swim by. I believe in it.
So can you talk a little bit about the philosophy of swim by and why you feel like that's an important step?
Well, to me, in order to really truly de-cheat a dog or truly do cheating singles and have a dog understand, hey, stay in the water or get back in the water on handling, in my mind, you need to go through this step because it's another tool in our toolbox. They understand, hey, get back in the water, swim, take more water, use cast them, take more water. I have thought over my career to get rid of swim by because there's a very successful trainer that doesn't do it, and his dogs handle great. But in my mind, I can't stop doing it. I have to have it in my program because I truly think it really helps our dogs understand when you start doing D-cheat and you start doing cheating singles, they truly understand to take more water. Like seek water, take water, get in the water. Because we've let them get out of the water. We've casted them back in the water. They swam by us. When the urge of when they're swimming by you, right? Their urge is to turn and come to you. But a dog that will just take water and swim past you in the water, stay in the water, they truly understand to stay in the water, right? That makes sense to you.
Yes.
In my mind, that makes sense. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but in my mind, that makes sense. It's a tool that you need to do all your de-cheating stuff for the rest of their life. And once swim by is done, and they're really good at it, so once you're done in your swim by pond, you need to go find other places to proof it. And what I mean by that is throw a mark, have Georgie swim across the little pond. On her way back, stop her, and cast her to the right. Have her swim past you out in the water. Stop her, cast her to the left. Have her just proof it. Like stop it and see if they'll take more water. Give them an over and let them swim out in the middle of nowhere. And you need to proof your swim by in multiple places so that it'll transfer not only from the swim by pond, but to real life. So, and you need to do that.
Do you feel like with the run by and the swim by that it also helps the dog fully understand is the goal is not to get the bumper, the goal is to do whatever the hell I tell you to do?
100%. You're building teamwork. Like you literally are like, I'm telling you, yes, you got the bird, or yes, you got the bumper. Now I'm going to stop you. I'm going to tell you where to go, and you're going to go. I'm telling you where to go, and you're going to go there. And eventually, those dogs truly are part of a team. Yeah, they understand that, hey, whatever he says that I got to do, I got to do it, right? Right. So, and I think it's a really, really good team building. I think it needs to be done, and I keep saying that, but there's people that don't. But we need to do it in my mind. So, because we have a lot of cheaty stuff here, we have a lot of technical water here, and for me to ask a dog to do really technical cheating marks and or blinds, we have to give them every tool in the toolbox to actually do that successfully. So,
Yep.
but and to me, so everybody says, "Oh, my dog's through the basics. My dog's force fetch, so it's through the basics." That's not basics. To me, basics start with obedience and it ends in swim by.
Mm-hmm.
That entire program of obedience, collar conditioning, force fetch, 3-hand casting, force to pile, sit to pile, mini T, run by, water force, sit in the water, mini T in the water, T in the water, swim by, that's basics. In that order.
And another good word for it would probably be foundation. Like now your dog
100%.
has all of the foundations laid out.
And so a lot of these people are sending their questions on Facebook, right? That that we like. How many of those dogs have truly done that? Have really gone through every single one of those steps to get to where they're at?
Mm-hmm.
Now everybody's program is different. They take step. This is my program, but these guys here, everybody has every good pro trainer should have a good basic solid foundation. These dogs, who can say they've actually done every one of those things without I'm going to go throw marks because my buddies are throwing marks. Well, I should be swim by. We'll get to it. There's a lot of dogs that have not been. They don't have the tools to get to the next. They may be an HRCH. They may be an HRCH master hunter, but do they have the tools to get to the next level of Grand Hunter Champion, QA2, Master National Hunter, M&H? Do they really have the tools to get to the next level? Or are you going to stay an HRCH Master Hunter your entire life? I mean, so this foundation that we're talking about is the 100% the key to any good dog. And you know what? It doesn't matter how long it takes. It takes how long it takes. Period. People are they get too caught up in go, hurry. Let's get through it.
And I would, speaking to the amateurs, the mistake that I made is things were going so well up to we kind of got it right around swim by. We struggled on swim by because I couldn't find a good place to do it. But
it's hard to do. It's really hard to do.
But things were going so well that I got sloppy because I was following Freddie's system at the time. I got so confident things are going so well that I just kind of started doing whatever the hell I wanted to do. And then everything just broke down because I stopped. No, this is a full process. You've got to follow every single step.
Yeah.
And I went out and just started doing whatever I wanted and getting it over her head. And next thing I know, she was completely breaking down because I just didn't stick with the system.
Yeah. Because natural talent will only take you so far.
Yeah.
Period. And if you can have all the natural talent in the world, but if you're not given the proper tools to deal with the stuff that's coming, you have no shot. You got zero shot of being successful. And that's where you see a ton of people. I mean, I'm talking a ton of people. Once they get their HR title or their senior title, they quit. They're done because they don't want to put in the work or they don't understand the process of getting to the next level. And they just quit. They're done. They don't want to do it anymore. Or they try to skip all the steps and then they try to run master or finished or whatever, and they fail 10 in a row and they just give up. Well, it's not the dog's fault. You didn't give them the proper tools to pass because you're too worried about.
I wish there was more groups that had group water. That's the biggest thing about the problem with an amateur is just places to work. And I can get on a really good setup about once, maybe twice a week. Other than that, I'm on my own. And as an amateur, that is, I'm sure, a very, very common problem. It's just having the resources, and even the local HRC club, I think ours doesn't. It's I know there's some places, the one we went up in Nebraska, that they have grounds. The club has grounds that anyone can use. That's invaluable. for an amateur.
And it's funny, and we were talking about Tiffany. She's in our group that trains Tiffany, and super nice gal, great little dog, great dogs. But it's so funny when the amateurs come to the kennel and they see the grounds. They're like, "Oh, let's do water work today. Let's do water work." All they care about is doing water work because, like you said, they don't have that, right?
Yeah.
And you know what I told them? I said, "Listen, if your dogs can't do it on land, they damn sure aren't going to do it on water."
Right.
And Tiffany was like, "Holy crap!" And they like, bam! There's a light bulb went off. She's like, "You're 100% right." Because all the amateurs care about is doing water. When they suck on land. Water's twice as hard as land. So, but if you can't do good marks or good blinds on land, you're not damn sure I'm going to do them on water.
Yeah.
And I told her that, and she was like, "Holy crap! If your dogs can't do it on land, they're damn sure I'm going to do it in the water." But that's like what you said. All they care about is getting water. That they don't have that, right? They don't have that. And
even finding land is not necessarily that easy.
Yeah, it's correct. But water is even harder. Like good water. Good water.
Water is even harder. And those of you amateurs, I will say that if you can find one person, like I've got my friend Cole, he and I train together more than anyone else. There's several other people, but I train with Cole more than, and a lot of times, like we just have a local park that has a big field and they don't care. They don't care if we do it out there.
Yeah.
So that's an option for people.
Yeah. And it's funny because we had one person that wanted to be in our group of people that come up and train every week. There's a group of them. You've seen them. And one lady wanted to join that group. And she's like, "I have a senior hunter dog. He's not a very good one. I didn't do swim by. I didn't do DCHI. I don't have the water. I'm like, so can I join this group? And can I come up and do it like 3 days a week?" I'm like, "No, you can't do swim by, water force, swim by, DCHI 2 or 3 days a week and get it done." It doesn't work that way. You have to, once you start it, you have to finish the program. You can't just like, "Oh, we're going to do water force today. Oh, we'll do water force again next week." Or we'll do it. You can't do that. You have to literally stay on top of it every single day till it's done. And that's what happens with a lot of amateurs, I think, is they don't have the proper grounds or they don't have access to proper grounds. So if they do find the water, they go crazy. And their dogs are even worse on water than they should be because they've overdone it on water and they let their dogs cheat because they don't have the proper tools to teach the dog how to do it right. Mm-hmm. And there's a saying out there, and I'm not trying to be mean to amateurs by no means, but amateur dogs usually mark pretty well. They don't handle. Then when you get them to the water, they're done. They're done. Because not all of them, but you watch in a hunt test, the land series, they'll pound the marks, they'll run an okay blind. You get to the water, they may pick up the water mics, but if there's a super hard water blind, they're done. They're done. It's over because they don't either one of two things. They don't have the proper water to train on, or they're too busy running marks and going fast and looking good and really breaking down and truly challenging the dog to get better in the water. Because nobody wants to challenge their dog to get better in the water and drive home going, "Oh my God, my dog's terrible in the water." They don't want to think that. They're too busy worried about their egos. But water's hard. It's a hard thing to have. It's a hard thing to do. And water is where the rubber meets the road. It's just like that's why the 4 series in a field trial is the watermarks. That's where you win. You win in the water. So if you don't have the proper tools to teach your dog to handle the water, you're never going to be successful. You're going to be kind of successful, and that's it. So,
yeah.
But,
well, good stuff. Do you want to do a couple questions? We got a little more time, I think.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. I think we've got 3 or 4 more questions here, if I'm not mistaken. We can hit on this one again, I guess. Kevin Christner, been listening to the podcast and others, and a lot of the pros are talking about running singles in training. Why? Is it just a confidence thing? And how can you build a concept off of just singles?
Well, good pros they go back to basics. All they care about is good basics. And basics are singles, right? If your dog can run a really nice, cheaty, down the shore, water single and hammer it and do a good job. So when they, in a triple situation or a multiple situation in a hunt test, they throw that really hard, nasty, cheaty single, right? That dog's like, I've done that before on a memory bird. Pow, pounds it, right? Because he's seen it in a single. Confident, knows what he's doing, knows to take the water, knows the rules. You teach that as a single. You don't teach that in multiples. And so when you see that really hard mark, that big long mark that you have to hug the gun to get to it, you don't teach that in a multiple. You teach that as a single. So when they see that mark, they're like, "Yep, done it, been there before," and pow, they hammer it. Because it's not only watching the bird. It's not only watching the bird go and land and go get it. It's also about recognizing the concept in front of you. So if a dog looks at water, sees a corner, I got to get in the water. I got to cut this corner. There's a bird, right? It's not only seeing the bird land. It's recognizing the concept. Two down two down the shore. You have to understand. You run those as you teach them as singles. You throw the first one short, pick it up, then you take the other one. You swim past the first one to get you. You run those as singles because that confidence in seeing those hard marking concepts comes from doing them as singles, not multiples. So,
all right. Next one, anonymous, 4.5-year-old male. Just started sticking out of the blue, only on the last bird, whether it's a triple or a blind or diversion. Does he know it's the last bird? When he comes back, you can see the avoidance, keeps head turned away. I have got this replicated in training once and corrected the sit command. It seemed to work for one day of the hunt test, but on day 2, he was sticky again. Not planning on running another hunt test till the grand, but this won't fly there. What have you done with success?
This is so hard to deal with. I own a dog right now.
What is sticking? What is sticking?
Won't let go of the bird. Like literally will clamps on it, and you can't even pry their damn jaws apart. I mean, I have a dog that does this, and
I saw that happen this last week.
Yeah, he's one of the most talented dogs I have in the entire kennel. I own him, and he started doing this crap at the Grand. It never showed up. This guy could be talking about my dog for a matter of fact. And literally, the first Grand he ever ran, right? He passed the Master National once. First Grand he ever ran, he went all the way through the 4 series, never handled a mark, one whistler lined every blind, lined the blind in the 4 series. 4 series. I go get the bird out of his mouth. He clamped down on it. All I had to do was walk to the damn honor, and we were going to the 5th series. He would not let it go. I gave him a year, 6 months off, ran the next Grand, did it again. Gave him 6 months off, ran the next Grand, did it again. This dog doesn't even run tests, and he does it. Now he's HRCH, Master Hunter, Master National Passage, qualified all age. This literally came out of the blue, and I can't fix it. I don't know what to do. I have an idea how to fix it. There's no rhyme or reason how to fix this. You can either fix it with pressure. You can burn off of a give command, and they spit it out. I wish I could give you an answer. There's no certain way to fix this, and sometimes it's almost unfixable.
And they only do it in hunt tests? They don't do it in training?
Only in hunt tests.
Wow, that's weird.
Will not do it in training. Won't he? I wish they would, because, man, I tell you what, it'd be a bad day for that dog because you could fix it. I'm telling you, you can fix it. They only do it in a test. And then more times than not, these are super, super talented dogs that go out and pound the test. Literally pound it, and they get so adrenaline. They have so much adrenaline. They have so much confidence. They're like, nope, my bird, I'm not letting it go, period. And I'm telling you, I had to literally pry the dog's mouth open to get the bird out. Now, they're not eating the bird. They're not even crushing the bird. They're just holding it really tight. They won't let it go.
Just theirs.
It's just that's theirs. And a lot of times it's the last bird. So I would love to tell you a way to fix this. I can't. It's whatever you can deem, whatever you figure out to stop it, that's how you stop it. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes the dog's career is completely over. And the dog that I own, his career may be done. He may be done. He's 5 years old. And literally, wait till you watch him run when you come out here. You'll be like, holy crap. He's one of the most talented dogs we have.
Oh, how frustrating.
It's unbelievable. And he is and the reason why I'm keeping him, he's an unbelievable hunt dog. He is going to be Flash's quote unquote replacement on the river. He is incredible. And that's why I'm keeping it. And I'm trying to fix it. I'm literally trying to fix it.
And he never does that even during hunting either?
No. Nope.
Wow. How strange.
It is the weirdest thing. And it comes out of nowhere. And like I said, it's usually a dog that's got so much confidence that he pounds the test. And then all the adrenaline going, it's weird to me that now I know there are females out there that do it, like females that stick on a bird. In my 25 years of training dogs, I personally have never had a female stick on a bird. It's always been a male. And it's usually an alpha male. It's usually an alpha male.
Wow.
So, yeah. But I can't tell you how to fix it. I don't even know. I mean, usually what I usually do is, let's just say you've used the command give in force fetch. So what I do in training, no matter whether they stick on it or not, no matter what, it's a word association. So I say drop. So I'll say drop and add collar pressure on the command drop. Whether they're sticking or not. They hear drop, collar pressure, drop, collar pressure. And then a test, if you go to get the bird out of their mouth and they go to stick on it, you say drop and they spit it out. They hear that word and here comes pressure, right? And they spit it out. I have been successful fixing it doing that. But it's a Band-Aid. It literally, dogs like this, you can't trust to the very last bird. You don't know if it's going to happen. You don't know if that command is going to work. You just don't know. And you can see him coming in. Like on this dog, I can physically see him doing it. He's running at me. Eyes are all bulgy, glossed over. He throws a bird back in his mouth I can see it coming. And he sits down and he goes like this. I'm like, it's over. Done. I can see it coming.
Oh, that's got to be a horrible feeling, just knowing at any time that's going to happen.
And you can't. It's insane. And like I said, it's usually a big badass alpha male that pounds a test and is so talented that it just clicks in their brain and they just can't stop it.
It's so interesting to me that like you just somehow cannot replicate the hunt test atmosphere to a dog, no matter how hard you try.
You can't do it. And the only way you can do it is if you were to drive to the Master National or you drive to the Grand and you had a big training group and you drove days to get there. And the first day you get out, this is what we do. The first day that you train, nobody trains with collars. And you act like a hunt test, right? The second somebody runs the marks without a collar, you put the collar on them to run the blind. The second you hear, yep, I can get a correction. The second the dogs hear that, they're like, nope, screw you guys. We're going to train. Nope. Beware. We're training today, everybody. We're training. I'm telling you, the second the dog hears the yip, it's over. It's over. And
it's so mind-blowing how smart they are.
It's insane. And I'm telling you, the second a dog hears a correction, they know. They're like, nope. You can try to trick me all you want. We're at a training day. I'm done, and they won't screw up. It's insane.
Wow.
But it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
But
I just can't believe how intelligent those dogs are to be able to just pick up on such minor. It's just like being a pack animal is so deeply rooted in them. They pick up on everything.
Everything. And you know what everybody says too, and Eric will tell you this story. Had a dog named Spank, great dog, M&H, grand champion. He would stick on birds. And his trigger, everybody thinks the last bird's the trigger. It's not. The trigger for these dogs, the dogs that stick on the last bird, it's not the last bird. It is the trigger is because they don't know it's the last bird. How they know they're not running 2 blinds? How they know they're not running 3 blinds? Right? The trigger is the judges, everybody under the tent, all the judges, the handler, they all change their body language. And here's what happens. Okay, guys, get ready. Guns up. Dog number 1, dog number 2, dog 3 come to the line. Everybody get ready. Guns up. As soon as those dogs hear that, bam, stick on the bird. Boom. It's not the last bird. It's the body language of everybody around them and how they act.
Even probably the handler relaxes.
100%. 100%. And here's what happened, and I'll tell you the story about Spank. We're running the Master National in South Carolina. And Eric was working for me at the time with T's on, and he was hanging birds for the judges under the tent. And he knew Spank was coming up. He goes, okay, guy. He goes, hey, guys, on this last bird, can everybody literally just sit in your chairs and like normal and don't say a word, please? They're like looked at him like he was crazy, and they're like, oh, okay. Spank came in, sat down, came right out of his mouth. Not a problem at all. The second they go, guns up, get ready, he goes, and he's done. And he did that, and he knew, and I told him that's the trigger. He's like, I said, I'm telling you, that's the trigger. And that's the trigger. And everybody thinks it's the last bird. It's the body language of everybody else.
That is just so phenomenal.
That's how they communicate, right? Body language.
Right. Every little thing.
And they see it. They're like, oh, here we go. So.
Wow. That's interesting. All right. Let's go to Tanner Banash. What should be done with the Benish? What should be done with the dog when returning home from being at a trainer, as in what drills and what, man, we've done a ton on this, and what not, based on the level of the dog?
I can't even tell you that, Tanner, because I don't know the level of the dog for a drill. Here's what should be done when listen to your trainer. Ask your trainer what should be done when I get home. What should I do? Ask your trainer and listen to what your trainer tells you to do. I can't tell you that because I don't know the level of the dog or who train. Just ask your trainer and do what your trainer tells you to do. Because you've trusted your trainer enough to pay him to train your dog. Now trust him enough to listen to him on what to do and what not to do with your dog.
We've got one more from Jeff Meyer, but it's about 10 questions in one. I think maybe that'd be a good one.
I know, Jeff. Jeff, you need a job because literally, look at these questions. I know what you do for a living. You need a job. Okay, let's answer them.
All right. With the 2023 Fall Grand over and the 2023 Master National wrapping up, I'd be interested in hearing Chris's discussion and thoughts about the two different events. How do they compare? How are they different? Does one have more technical marks? Overlapping area of falls? Are the placements of the marks more difficult away from where the dog wants to go in one compared to the other? Do the judges look for or emphasize different things between the two? Let's stop there and make that a chunk.
Ugh, Jeff. The Grand and the Master National are two very different events. The Grand, you're going to have three very distinct areas of the fall and a blind. Now, can your dog get to those areas of the fall, find the bird, and bring it back? That's the key. The Master National, you're typically going to see tighter marks, more technical marks. In the Grand, you're not going to really see that. It's easier to mark at the Master National because there's quack, 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 boom, throw. The Grand has a 175-yard bird coming out of a tree. Like, it's hard to see. It's hard to find. It's hard to go get. So marking at the Grand is harder to go get the bird because it's harder to see the bird. It's harder to – there's nothing that gets your attention in the field. It's harder. The Master National gets your attention, but sometimes it's really hard to get to that bird because it's so technical. right? The big difference about the Master National and the Grand. There's the scoring system. This is the big difference. And I'm going to say it, and I don't care what anybody says, the Grand is harder than the Master National, period. I've said it. I'll say it until I die. The Grand is harder than the Master National because of there's no attention-getting devices in the field, harder to mark. Judging standard is extremely high. Not saying the Master National is not. It's just it's different. Here's the scoring at the Master National and the Grand. At the Master National, you basically start with a 0 of a score. The judges at the Master National are looking for good work, and they're rewarding good work. So you start with a 0, you do good work, you get an 8 or 9, right? You don't do good work, you get a lower score, 3 or 4 or 5. But they start with a 0, they look for good work, they reward good work. At the Grand, you start with a score of a 2. There's a 0, 1, and a 2. You start with a 2. 2 is the highest you can get. You start with a 2. They start looking for things wrong to take a point away. Does that make sense?
Just a different mindset entirely.
100% different. If your dog creeps the line, you get a 1. You can only get a 1 and a 1 one time, and you're out. You're done. So the Grand is looking for, I don't want to say bad work. The Grand is looking for not Grand standard work. So they take points away. The Master National is rewarding you for good work, and they give you points. It's a completely different mindset, completely different ball game. So they're both. I like them both. The Grand is so hard, it's so stressful, and so is the Master National. I like the Master National because it's a little more laid back. It's a little bit more. It's more fun. It's more like a big weekend test. The Grand is a completely different game. The Grand is like walking into a fist fight, and you're going to be fist fighting for a week to survive. The Master National, you're like, oh, I handle on a mark. I can probably handle on 1 or 2 more. I'll be fine. The Grand, you handle on a mark. You're like, crap. I'm done. I can't do anything wrong again for the rest of the week. It's a completely different mindset. I love them both. They're apples and oranges. The Grand's harder. The Master National is a great title. I mean, I guess that's all I can say about it. But it's the judging system makes it very, very different.
Just puts the judge in a different mindset right from the get-go.
100%. It's 100%. It's like at the Grand, I mean, a lot of those judges and the committee members are my friends. But at the Grand, when you wake up, you're in a fist fight all day long, and it's us against them. Literally, it's a fist fight. It's us against them. And Master Nationals it's a different feeling. So,
all right. The next part of the question, he's got question on blind training. During training, how often should a dog's momentum be stopped to reinforce the control and handling? Say a dog is on a great line that probably wouldn't get a whistle at a test. In training, do you sometimes whistle sit the dog just to remind them of who's in control and see the reaction to the cast? How often should you do that? Is it an age or?
I know what dog he's talking about. It's a flash son. And if your dog is big, fast, cocky, arrogant, not a team player, and if the more blinds he lines, the worse he gets to handling, the worse team player he is, then you stop him and handle him. Yes, absolutely. You teach him who the boss is, and you let him. Hey, I'm still here. I'm still here. I'm the boss. So it all depends on the dog. You have a big, hard charging male who the more blinds he lines, the harder he is to deal with on marks and blinds and heeling and line manners. The more confidence he gets, the harder he is to deal with. So you don't let him get that confidence. A dog that is not quite as confident, you let him line that blind to gain confidence. It all depends on the dog. So it all depends on the dog.
All right, last one from Jeff. How do you suggest dealing with the dogs that goes into hunt mode when nearing the finish of a blind? Mine tends to go into hunt mode on longer than AKC or HRC blinds. It sometimes requires overcast to get a good change of direction rather than taking the literal cast. He acts like he's made it far enough and knows it's here somewhere. I probably should go back to my question above.
Yep. There you go. So you have to keep your standard. Literal casting is literal casting. And whether it's 300 yards or 100 yards, you have to keep that standard. And the farther away your dog gets from you, the more training, distance deteriorates training, period. So you have to hold that standard really, really high. If you know that dog is going to act like that at the end of the blind, start shutting him down about 3/4 of the way there and establish control before you get to the end of the blind. Don't expect him to run 250 yards like a wild man, and at the end be completely perfectly under control. It's not going to happen. Especially if you got, I know this dog, great dog. But if you have troubles at the end of the blind at distance, start shutting him down at 3/4 and start handling him to establish control. So.
And would you do that in a hunt test if you know the dog has the propensity to start
100%.
hunting on their own?
100%. So let's just say you have a dog that is kind of hard to control at the end of a blind. They get really darty. They start guessing, especially in a tight situation. 100%. You shut him down and establish control because you know at the end of the blind, you're probably not going to have any. So establish that control at the beginning. Like, hey, I'm still here. I'm still here, and let's do this. Remind him he's still part of a team.
Well, that's it. We've gone through all our questions. So everyone get back over to the Facebook group. Get those questions lined up. But we need to start filling up those questions. So I'll put a new thread for that on the Facebook group. So if you haven't joined the Facebook group, come on over.
Yep.
Chris,
great podcast, great questions. Keep bringing us questions.
All right. Well, I think that's it. Let's close this down, and we'll see you guys on the next one.
All right, guys. See everybody at the line. Take that in.
Gotta strike this chord with the humble hearts. Bearing heavy chains and blue collar scars. Inevitably, they're gonna get their way. If it don't take that fight, take it to the grave.